My granddaughter Amara slipped into the guest bedroom like a ghost. Her little hands were shaking, and her brown eyes were wide with fear. She was only 10 years old, but she looked at me like she was carrying the weight of the whole world on her small shoulders. "Mama, Wanda," she whispered, using the name all my grandbabies called me. "They're selling your house on Friday. I heard Daddy on the phone with a lawyer." The words hung in the air like smoke. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I was 72 years old, lying in my son's guest bed, 3 weeks out from hip surgery, and my own child was trying to steal my house right from under me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just looked at my granddaughter's terrified face and knew exactly what I had to do. I reached for my cell phone on the nightstand. "Baby, go back to your room," I whispered. "Don't let them know you told me anything." Amara nodded and disappeared as quietly as she'd come. I stared at my phone for a long moment. Then I didn't call my son Terrence to confront him. I didn't call my daughter Yvette to tell her what her brother was doing. I called the police. "I need to report a fraud," I said when the officer answered. "And I need you to come on Friday morning. That's when they're planning to steal my house." Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. Let me tell you how I got here, lying in this bed, realizing my own son was a thief. My name is Wanda Washington, and I worked as a nurse for 43 years at Mercy General Hospital. My husband Earl died 12 years ago, God rest his soul, and he left me with our house on Maple Street, a beautiful 3-bedroom home we'd paid off after 30 years of mortgage payments. That house represented everything Earl and I built together. Every room held memories of our life, our children's childhoods, our grandchildren's visits. I had 2 children. Terrence, my oldest, at 45, and Yvette, my baby girl, at 42. Terrence married Chantal 15 years ago, and they had 3 children, Amara, Deshawn, and little Caleb. Yvette lived in Atlanta with her husband and their 2 boys. Terrence always seemed successful. He worked in real estate, drove a Mercedes, wore expensive suits. But I didn't know that behind all that shine, my son was drowning in debt. I didn't know he'd made bad investments, that he owed money to dangerous people, that his fancy life was built on borrowed time and broken promises. 3 months ago, I fell in my kitchen and broke my hip. At 72, that's serious business. I needed surgery and a long recovery. Terrence insisted I come stay with him and Chantal. "Mama, you can't be alone in that big house," he said, his voice full of concern that I now know was fake. "Come stay with us. We'll take care of you. You don't need to worry about anything." I was in pain and scared, so I agreed. I thought my son loved me. I thought he wanted to help his elderly mother. What a fool I was. Chantal picked me up from the hospital after my surgery. She was sweet as pie, fluffing pillows, bringing me water, telling me to rest and not worry about a thing. They set me up in their guest bedroom downstairs, said it was easier than me trying to climb stairs during recovery. "Mama, just focus on healing," Terrence said, taking my house keys from my purse. "I'll go by your place, water your plants, get your mail. You don't need to stress about anything." I gave him my keys without thinking twice. He was my son, my firstborn, the boy I'd rocked to sleep, taught to read, sent to college. Why would I doubt him? The first week was fine. Chantal brought me meals, helped me to the bathroom, changed my bandages. The kids came to visit. Amara would sit with me and tell me about school. Deshawn would show me his drawings. Little Caleb would climb carefully onto the bed and give me gentle hugs. But then things started to feel strange. Whenever I asked about my house, Terrence would change the subject. "Don't worry about that now, Mama. Just rest." When I said I wanted to go home to get some of my things, my favorite blanket, my photo albums, he'd say, "Later, Mama. You're not ready to travel yet." In the second week, I overheard Terrence and Chantal arguing in their bedroom next to mine. The walls were thin. "We don't have a choice," Terrence was saying, his voice tight and angry. "Do you want us to lose everything? The house is just sitting there. She can't even live alone anymore anyway." "But it's her house, Terrence," Chantal said. "We can't just—" "We're not discussing this," he snapped. I felt cold all over. What were they talking about? The next day, Terrence brought me papers to sign. "Just some medical stuff, Mama," he said casually. "Insurance forms, hospital bills, you know how it is." I reached for my reading glasses, but he pulled the papers away. "Don't strain your eyes, Mama. You trust me, don't you? I'm just taking care of business so you don't have to worry." Something in my gut told me not to sign anything without reading it first. "Let me look at them later, baby," I said. "My head hurts right now." His jaw tightened, but he smiled. "Sure, Mama. No rush." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those papers, about the argument I'd overheard, about how Terrence wouldn't let me go home even to get my own belongings. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. I peeked through the crack in my door and saw Terrence going into his home office with a folder. I heard the scanner running, then the printer. The next morning, those papers he wanted me to sign were gone from my nightstand. That's when I knew something was very, very wrong. I started paying closer attention. I noticed Terrence taking calls outside, closing doors when he talked. I noticed Chantal wouldn't look me in the eyes anymore. I noticed the kids getting quieter, like they could feel the tension in the house. 3 weeks after my surgery, I asked Terrence directly, "When can I go home?" "Mama, we need to talk about that," he said, sitting on the edge of my bed. "The doctor says you might not be able to live alone anymore. Maybe it's time to think about selling the house. You could move into a nice assisted living place, have people around to help you." "I don't want to sell my house," I said firmly. "That's my home, Earl's home." "Daddy's gone, Mama," Terrence said, and his voice had an edge to it now. "You're being stubborn. Let me handle this. I'm trying to help you." I said no. He stood up, and for the first time, I saw anger flash across his face. "We'll see about that." After he left, my hands were shaking. My own son was threatening me. That's when little Amara started acting strange. She'd come into my room but wouldn't talk much. She'd look like she wanted to say something, then change her mind. I could tell something was eating at her. Last night, she finally couldn't hold it in anymore. That's when she crept into my room and told me everything. She'd been in the hallway when Terrence was on the phone with someone. A lawyer, she thought. She heard him say, "Friday at 10 a.m., the buyer's cash offer. Yes, I have power of attorney. No, she won't be a problem." My baby granddaughter looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Mama Wanda, I think Daddy forged your name. I saw papers on his desk with your signature, but it didn't look right." That's when I knew. My son had forged my signature on power of attorney documents. He was planning to sell my house, the house Earl and I built our life in. And there was nothing I could do to stop him. Except there was. After Amara left my room last night, I called the police. I explained everything to Officer Martinez. I told him about the forged documents, about the sale scheduled for Friday, about my son stealing my house while I recovered from surgery in his home. "Mrs. Washington," Officer Martinez said, his voice kind but serious. "This is elder abuse and fraud. We take this very seriously. Here's what we're going to do." We made a plan. Friday morning, officers would be waiting at my house on Maple Street. They'd arrive right when the buyer showed up for the closing. They'd arrest Terrence for fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. But I couldn't let Terrence know I knew anything. I had to act normal for 3 more days. Now it's Wednesday. The house is closing on Friday. I have 2 days to pretend I don't know my son is a criminal. 2 days to keep my granddaughter's secret safe. 2 days before my whole family falls apart. I'm lying here in this guest bed, listening to Terrence laugh with his family in the living room, and I feel like I'm trapped in a nightmare. That's my son out there, the baby I raised, and he's planning to rob me blind. But what Terrence doesn't know is that his mama isn't some helpless old woman he can push around. I might have a bad hip, but my mind is sharp as ever. And I'm about to teach my son a lesson he'll never forget. Friday morning is coming, and when it does, Terrence Washington is going to find out exactly who he's been messing with. Thursday morning arrived with sunshine streaming through the guest bedroom window, but I felt nothing but darkness in my heart. One more day until Friday. One more day until I had to watch my son get arrested for trying to steal everything his father and I worked for. I barely slept Wednesday night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw little Amara's terrified face. I saw Terrence as a baby, how I'd held him when he had nightmares. How proud Earl was the day Terrence graduated college. Where did I go wrong? How did my son turn into someone who could do this to his own mother? Around 7 a.m., Chantal brought me breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, and orange juice on a tray. She still wouldn't look directly at me. "Thank you, baby," I said, watching her face carefully. "You're welcome, Mama Wanda," she mumbled, already turning to leave. "Chantal," I said softly. "Wait." She stopped but didn't turn around. "You know what he's doing is wrong, don't you?" Her shoulders tensed up. For a moment, I thought she might actually talk to me, but then she just said, "I need to get the kids ready for school," and hurried out. So Chantal knew. She was in on it too. Or at least she knew and wasn't stopping it. That hurt almost as much as Terrence's betrayal. After I ate, I called Officer Martinez from my cell phone, keeping my voice low. "Everything's still on for tomorrow?" I asked. "Yes, ma'am. We'll have officers at your property by 9:30 a.m. The detective handling your case also wants to know, do you have any documentation at your house that proves ownership? Original deed, mortgage papers, anything like that?" My heart sank. "Everything's in my filing cabinet in my bedroom closet, but Terrence has my keys." "Don't worry, Mrs. Washington. We'll handle it. Just one more thing. We may need you present tomorrow to verify your identity and confirm you didn't authorize the sale. Can you get there?" "I'll find a way," I promised. After I hung up, I realized I had a big problem. How was I supposed to get to my house tomorrow when I couldn't even walk without my walker and Terrence controlled my every move? I couldn't exactly ask him to drive me to the house he was stealing. I was still thinking about this when I heard arguing upstairs. Terrence and Chantal again, their voices carrying through the vents. "Can't believe you'd do this to your own mother," Chantal was saying. "What choice do I have?" Terrence shouted back. "You want to tell the kids why we lost our house? You want to explain to them why Daddy's in trouble with some very dangerous people? That house is worth $500,000. It's just sitting there. She can't live alone anyway. She's your mother, Terrence, and those are forged documents. You could go to prison." "Nobody's going to prison. She's old and confused from the pain medication. If anyone asks, I'll say she gave me permission and just forgot." Who are they going to believe? I felt rage burn through me. Old and confused? My son was planning to blame his crime on my age, on my medication. He was going to make me look like a senile old woman who didn't know what she was signing. The argument upstairs ended with a door slamming. A few minutes later, Terrence came downstairs, all smiles like nothing had happened. "Morning, Mama. How you feeling today?" "I'm all right," I said carefully. "My hip's feeling better every day." "That's great." He checked his watch. "Listen, I've got some business to handle today. Chantal will be here if you need anything." "What kind of business?" I asked, keeping my voice innocent. "Just some real estate stuff. Nothing for you to worry about." He kissed my forehead, and it took everything in me not to pull away. "I'll be back this evening." After he left, the house felt quieter. Chantal was in the laundry room. The kids were at school. I was alone with my thoughts and my fear. That's when my cell phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but I answered anyway. "Mrs. Washington, this is Gladys Porter, from First Baptist Church?" My heart lifted. Gladys Porter was one of my oldest friends. We'd been in the choir together for 20 years before my hip started giving me trouble. "Gladys? Oh, it's so good to hear your voice." "Baby, where have you been? Nobody's seen you in weeks. Pastor Jerome asked about you last Sunday, and I realized I hadn't heard from you since your surgery. Are you all right?" Tears started rolling down my face. I'd been so isolated at Terrence's house. I hadn't even thought about my church family, my friends, my life outside these four walls. "Gladys, I need help," I whispered. "I'm in trouble." "What kind of trouble? Where are you?" I told her everything. About the surgery, about staying with Terrence, about overhearing the arguments, about Amara's warning, about the forged documents and the house being sold tomorrow. I told her about calling the police and needing to get to my house by 10 a.m. on Friday. Gladys was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Baby, I'm coming to get you. Right now. Chantal's here. I don't care who's there. You're not a prisoner. You're a grown woman recovering from surgery, and you have every right to have visitors. I'm leaving my house right now, and I'll be there in 20 minutes. True to her word, Gladys showed up 23 minutes later. I heard the doorbell ring, heard Chantal answer it. "I'm here to see Wanda Washington," Gladys announced in that no-nonsense voice of hers. "We're old friends from church, and I'm taking her out for a little while." "Oh, I don't think," Chantal started. "You don't think what? That a grown woman can have visitors? That she's allowed to leave the house? She's recovering from surgery, not under house arrest." Gladys marched right into my room like she owned the place. She was 70 years old herself, but she moved like a woman 30 years younger. Her silver hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and she wore a purple dress that matched her fierce spirit. "Come on, Wanda. We're getting you out of here for a few hours." "I need my walker. I got it." Gladys grabbed my walker and helped me stand. "Chantal, get Mrs. Washington's coat and purse, please." Chantal looked like she wanted to argue, but something about Gladys's tone made her obey. 5 minutes later, I was in Gladys's car, breathing fresh air for the first time in weeks. "Where do you want to go?" Gladys asked as she drove. "I need to see my house," I said. "I need to see what Terrence has been doing while I've been locked away." We drove to Maple Street in silence. When Gladys pulled up in front of my house, my heart almost stopped. There was a sold sign in my front yard. My beautiful flower beds that I'd planted with Earl were overgrown with weeds. The grass hadn't been mowed in weeks. Mail was piling up in the mailbox. "He's been lying," I whispered. "He said he was coming by to take care of the place. He hasn't been here at all." Gladys squeezed my hand. "Do you have a key?" Terrence took mine, but I keep a spare under the blue flower pot by the back door. Earl always said I was paranoid for hiding an extra key, but look who's paranoid now. We made our way slowly around back, me with my walker, Gladys helping support me. The key was still there, thank God. We let ourselves in through the kitchen door. The house smelled stale, like nobody had opened a window in weeks. There was a thin layer of dust on everything. But it was still my home. Still the place where I'd raised my babies, celebrated birthdays, mourned my husband. Every corner held a memory. "Help me to my bedroom," I said to Gladys. "I need to check my filing cabinet." In my bedroom closet, I found my filing cabinet. It was still locked. That was good. I kept the key on a chain around my neck, even in the hospital. Inside, I found everything. The original deed to the house in Earl's and my name. The paid-off mortgage papers. My will that clearly stated the house should go to my children equally after my death. My medical power of attorney form that named Yvette, not Terrence, as my healthcare proxy. "These are the real documents," I told Gladys. "Whatever Terrence has are forgeries. We need to take these." "Take pictures with your phone, too," Gladys advised. "And let's take the originals with us for safekeeping." While Gladys helped me photograph and gather the documents, I called Officer Martinez again and told him we'd secured the real paperwork. "Perfect, Mrs. Washington. This is exactly what we need. Now, about tomorrow. Can your friend bring you to the house around 9:45 a.m.? "I'll be there," I promised. We were about to leave when I heard a car pull up in the driveway. Through the window, I saw Terrence's Mercedes. "Hide," Gladys whispered urgently. "In the closet now." We squeezed into my bedroom closet just as I heard the front door open. Terrence's footsteps echoed through the house. He was talking on his phone. "Yeah, I'm at the property now, just doing a final walkthrough before tomorrow's closing. The old lady has no idea. She's doped up on pain pills, half out of her mind. This is going to be the easiest sale of my life." He laughed. Actually laughed. "The buyer's bringing a cashier's check for $485,000 tomorrow morning. After I pay off my debts, I'll still clear about $300,000. Might take the family to Cancun, celebrate properly." Gladys grabbed my hand in the darkness of the closet. I could feel her shaking with anger. Terrence walked around the house a bit more, and I heard him say, "Yeah, assisted living will cost maybe $4,000 a month. She's got Social Security and a pension, that'll cover it. She won't be homeless. She just won't have this house sitting here wasted on someone who can't even use stairs anymore." He was in my bedroom now. His footsteps were right outside the closet door. "Everything's going perfectly. My wife had some concerns, but she'll get over it when she sees the money. And if anyone questions the documents, I'll just say Mom signed them and forgot because of her medication. Who's going to believe a 72-year-old woman over me?" The closet door handle started to turn. My heart stopped. Gladys and I pressed ourselves back into the corner behind my winter coats. The door opened a crack. Terrence reached in, grabbed something off a shelf, looked like an old photo album, and then closed the door again. "Gotta go. Buyer's lawyer wants one more document scanned over. I'll call you tomorrow after it's done. We're celebrating tomorrow night." He left, whistling. Actually whistling while he planned to rob his own mother. We waited in that closet for 10 minutes after we heard his car leave, just to be sure. When we finally came out, my legs were shaking so badly I could hardly stand. "That snake," Gladys said, her voice trembling with rage. "That no-good snake." "He's my son," I said, and the tears finally came. "How could he do this to me?" Gladys held me while I cried. "Some people lose their way, baby. They let money and fear turn them into people they were never supposed to be. But he's not getting away with this. Tomorrow, justice is coming." We gathered the documents and got back to Gladys's car. On the drive back to Terrence's house, I felt stronger than I had in weeks. I had proof. I had a plan. I had the police on my side. And most importantly, I had a friend who'd risk everything to help me. "Thank you, Gladys," I said as we pulled up to Terrence's house. "I don't know what I would have done without you." "That's what church family is for, baby. Now listen, tomorrow, I'm picking you up at 9:30 sharp. Tell them you have a doctor's appointment if you have to. But we're going to be at that house when the police arrive." "Won't Chantal call Terrence if I leave?" "Let her. It'll be too late by then. The police will already be there." I went back inside, documents hidden in my purse. Chantal looked nervous. "Where did you go?" "Out with a friend," I said simply. "I'm allowed to have visitors, aren't I?" She didn't answer, just turned back to folding laundry. That evening, Terrence came home in a good mood. He brought Chinese takeout for dinner and was extra nice to everyone, kissing Chantal, playing with the kids, even helping me adjust my pillows. "Big day tomorrow," he said cheerfully. "I've got an important closing. Should be done by noon." "That's nice, baby," I said, my voice sweet as honey. Little Amara came into my room after dinner. She climbed carefully onto the bed beside me. "Mama Wanda, are you going to be okay?" she whispered. "Yes, baby. Everything's going to be okay. Your daddy's going to learn an important lesson tomorrow about doing the right thing." "Is he going to be mad at me for telling you?" I pulled her close. "You did the right thing, Amara. You were brave and honest. No matter what happens, you remember that you saved your Mama Wanda. You're my hero." She hugged me tight, and I felt her tears on my shoulder. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I kept going over the plan. Gladys would pick me up at 9:30. We'd arrive at the house at 9:45. The police would be there by 9:30. Terrence and the buyer were scheduled to arrive at 10 o'clock. Everything had to work perfectly. Around 2 a.m., I heard Terrence on the phone again, his voice low. "Everything's set. Cash sale, no contingencies. My mother signed over power of attorney months ago. There won't be any problems." More lies. So many lies. I lay in that guest bed, watching the ceiling fan spin slowly overhead, and I thought about forgiveness. The Bible says to forgive 70 times 7. It says to turn the other cheek. It says to love your enemies. But it also says that actions have consequences, that we reap what we sow, that justice is the Lord's, but sometimes the Lord works through earthly courts and earthly laws. Tomorrow, Terrence was going to learn that you can't steal from your own mother and get away with it. Tomorrow, he was going to find out that I wasn't the confused old woman he thought I was. Tomorrow, everything was going to change. As Friday morning's first light started creeping through the curtains, I heard movement in the house. Terrence was up early, getting ready for his big closing. I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep as he peeked into my room. "Sleep well, Mama," he whispered. "When you wake up, everything will be different." He had no idea how right he was. Friday morning came like Judgment Day. I was awake before sunrise, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst right out of my chest. This was it. The day my son would be arrested. The day my family would shatter into a million pieces. The day I'd have to watch my own child be taken away in handcuffs. Part of me wanted to call it all off, to pretend I didn't know, to let him sell the house and just fade away into some assisted living facility where I wouldn't have to see the disappointment in my grandchildren's eyes. But then I remembered his voice on the phone. "The old lady has no idea. She's doped up on pain pills, half out of her mind." That's what my son thought of me. Not as the woman who'd worked double shifts to pay for his college. Not as the mother who'd sat up with him through nightmares and homework and heartbreak. Just as an obstacle to be removed. No, I wasn't backing down. At 7 a.m., Terrence came into my room, already dressed in an expensive suit. He looked so handsome, so professional. If you didn't know better, you'd think he was a good man doing honest work. "Morning, Mama. How'd you sleep?" "Just fine, baby. I've got that closing this morning I told you about. Should be back around lunchtime. Chantal will get you whatever you need." "Actually," I said carefully, "my friend Gladys is picking me up at 9:30. I have a follow-up appointment with the surgeon." His smile froze. "What appointment? Nobody told me about any appointment." "I made it myself. I'm allowed to do that, aren't I?" "Of course, Mama, but I should take you. What time is it?" 9:30, but Gladys already offered. I don't want to mess up your important closing." I could see him calculating, trying to figure out if this was a problem. Finally, he forced another smile. "All right. But call me if you need anything. And Mama, maybe we should talk later. About your future. About the house." "Maybe we should," I said quietly. After he left, I got dressed slowly, my hands shaking. I picked out my best church dress, the royal blue one with the matching jacket. If I was going to watch my son get arrested, I was going to look dignified doing it. At 9:15, my phone buzzed. It was Officer Martinez. "Officers in position. Detective Chen is with them. We're ready when you are." At 9:28, Gladys's car pulled up outside. I was waiting by the door with my walker, my purse containing all the real documents clutched tight. Chantal came rushing from the kitchen. "You're really leaving?" "Terrence said—" "Terrence doesn't control me," I said firmly. "I'm a grown woman going to a doctor's appointment. I should call him. You do what you need to do, Chantal, and you think real hard about whether you want to be part of what your husband's doing." Her face went pale, but she didn't stop me. Gladys helped me into the car, and we drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Chantal standing in the doorway, phone already pressed to her ear. "She's calling Terrence," Gladys said. "Let her. We'll be there before he can do anything about it." The 15-minute drive to Maple Street felt like hours. My stomach was in knots. Gladys kept glancing at me, worried. "You sure you want to do this, Wanda? There's still time to—" "No, there's not. This ends today." When we turned onto Maple Street, I saw 2 unmarked police cars parked down the block. Officer Martinez and a woman in plain clothes, Detective Chen, I assumed, were standing on my front porch, waiting. Gladys helped me out of the car and up the walkway. My hip was aching from the movement, but I barely felt it. All my attention was on Detective Chen, a sharp-looking Asian woman in her 40s. "Mrs. Washington? I'm Detective Angela Chen. Do you have the documents?" I pulled them from my purse with trembling hands. "Everything's here. The real deed. The real power of attorney that names my daughter Yvette, not Terrence. My will. Everything." She examined them quickly, took photos, then handed them back. "These will hold up in court. Now, we've confirmed with the title company that someone claiming to be you, with forged power of attorney documents, initiated the sale of this property 3 weeks ago. The buyer, a Mr. Raymond Foster, is scheduled to arrive at 10 a.m. with a cashier's check. And your son?" "He'll be here," I said. "He thinks this is his big payday." We didn't have to wait long. At 9:52, a silver Lexus pulled up. A white man in his 60s got out, carrying a briefcase, Mr. Foster, the buyer. Right behind him was a black BMW. A woman in a business suit emerged, probably Foster's lawyer. They looked surprised to see people already at the house. "Is there a problem?" Foster asked, confused. "There might be," Detective Chen said, flashing her badge. "Let's wait for Mr. Washington before we discuss anything." At 9:58, Terrence's Mercedes turned onto the street. I watched my son park, watched him get out with a folder of papers and that confident smile on his face. He was halfway up the walkway before he saw me standing there with the police. The smile died on his face. "Mama, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be at the doctor." "No, Terrence, you're supposed to be stealing my house. That's what this is, isn't it?" "I don't know what you're talking about." But his eyes were darting around, looking for an escape. Detective Chen stepped forward. "Mr. Terrence Washington? I'm Detective Chen. We need to talk about the sale of this property and the power of attorney documents you filed with the title company." "Everything's legal," Terrence said quickly. "My mother gave me power of attorney. She's elderly, she had surgery, she can't manage her affairs." "That's interesting," Detective Chen said, "because Mrs. Washington has her original power of attorney document right here. It names her daughter Yvette as her legal representative, not you. And it's dated 5 years ago, properly notarized and filed with her lawyer. So where did your version come from?" Terrence's face went gray. "There must be some mistake." "The mistake was thinking your mother wouldn't find out," Officer Martinez said. "We've already examined the documents you submitted to the title company. The signature doesn't match Mrs. Washington's real signature. The notary seal is fake. This is textbook forgery and fraud." Mr. Foster looked horrified. "I had no idea. The title company assured me everything was legitimate." "You're not in trouble, Mr. Foster," Detective Chen said. "You're a victim here, too." Terrence was backing away now. "Mama, please. You don't understand. I'm in debt. Bad debt. These people, they're going to hurt me if I don't pay them. I needed this money." "So you decided to steal from your mother?" My voice cracked. "The woman who raised you? Who sacrificed everything for you? I was going to take care of you, put you in a nice facility. You would have been fine." "In a facility I didn't choose, paid for with money from stealing my home?" Tears were streaming down my face now. "How could you, Terrence? How could you do this to me?" "Terrence Washington," Detective Chen said formally. "You're under arrest for elder abuse, forgery, fraud, and attempted theft. You have the right to remain silent." "No, Mama, please! Tell them it was a misunderstanding. I'm your son!" Officer Martinez was putting handcuffs on him. My son, my baby boy, being arrested right in front of me. "You're my son," I said quietly, "and that's why this breaks my heart. But you're also a criminal who tried to steal from his own mother. Being my son doesn't give you the right to abuse me." As they led Terrence to the police car, he was crying. "Mama, Mama, please, think about the kids. What's going to happen to them?" "Maybe you should have thought about that before you committed fraud," I said. The police car drove away with my son in the back seat. Mr. Foster and his lawyer left, looking stunned. Suddenly, it was just me, Gladys, and Detective Chen standing in front of my house. "What happens now?" I asked, exhausted. "He'll be processed and arraigned," Detective Chen said. "Given the evidence, the DA will definitely prosecute. You'll need to testify. It won't be easy." "Will he go to prison?" "Likely, yes. Elder abuse and fraud are serious charges. He could face 3 to 5 years. Possibly more." I nodded slowly, feeling numb. "And my house? It's still yours. The sale is void. The title company will have to sort out their mess, but your property rights are intact." After Detective Chen left, Gladys helped me into my house, and settled me on my own couch. Everything was dusty and neglected, but it was home. "What do I do now?" I asked Gladys. "My son is going to prison. Chantal and the kids. Where does this leave them?" "That's not your responsibility, Wanda. Terrence made his choices." My phone rang. It was Yvette, my daughter in Atlanta. "Mama, Chantal just called me crying, saying something about Terrence getting arrested. What's happening?" I told her everything. The whole story, from the surgery to the betrayal to this morning's arrest. Yvette was silent for a long time. "I'm catching the next flight," she finally said. "I'll be there by tonight. Mama, I'm so sorry. I should have checked on you more. I should have known something was wrong." "You couldn't have known, baby. I'll help you figure everything out. We'll get you home care if you need it. We'll make sure you're taken care of properly. And Terrence," her voice hardened, "Terrence is going to have to face what he's done." That afternoon, Gladys called Pastor Jerome and some ladies from the church. By evening, my house was clean, my refrigerator was stocked, and I had a schedule of church members who'd volunteered to check on me daily until I was fully recovered. Around 7 p.m., there was a knock on my door. It was Amara, my granddaughter. Chantal was with her, looking like she'd been crying for hours. "Mama Wanda," Chantal said, her voice breaking. "Can we please talk?" I let them in. Amara ran to hug me, and I held her tight. "I'm so sorry," Chantal sobbed. "I knew what he was planning. I should have stopped him. I should have told you. But I was scared of losing everything, scared of what would happen to the kids. I was wrong. I was so wrong." "Yes, you were," I said quietly. "You let your husband steal from me. You watched him commit crimes and said nothing." I know, but please, the kids, they need their grandmother. They didn't do anything wrong. Please don't shut them out." I looked at Amara's hopeful face, thought about Deshawn and little Caleb. They were innocent in all this. "The children are always welcome here," I said. "You and we'll have to rebuild trust. That won't happen overnight. But I won't punish my grandchildren for their father's sins." Chantal broke down completely. Thank you so much." Over the next few weeks, the reality of what happened settled in. Terrence was denied bail. The judge considered him a flight risk. Yvette flew back and forth from Atlanta, helping me arrange for home health care and physical therapy. I got stronger every day. The children visited regularly. Amara, Deshawn, and Caleb needed their grandmother more than ever, with their father in jail and their mother struggling to hold everything together. Chantal had to sell the Mercedes and downsize their house. Turns out, most of their fancy lifestyle had been built on debt and lies. Gladys and the church ladies became my lifeline. They brought meals, drove me to appointments, sat with me when the loneliness got too heavy. I'd lost my son, but I'd gained a deeper understanding of what real family meant. The people who showed up when times got hard, who stood by you when it would have been easier to walk away. 3 months later, Terrence's trial began. I had to testify, had to sit on that witness stand and tell a courtroom full of strangers how my own son had tried to rob me blind. Terrence wouldn't look at me the whole time. The jury took less than 2 hours to find him guilty on all charges. The judge sentenced him to 4 years in prison. As they led him away, Terrence finally looked at me. "I'm sorry, Mama," he said, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry." "I forgive you," I said, because that's what my faith required. But forgiveness doesn't mean there aren't consequences. You need to think about the man you became and decide if that's who you want to be. Now it's been 6 months since that Friday morning when everything changed. I'm walking without a walker now, just a cane. My hip healed up just fine. The house is full of life again. Grandchildren running through on weekends, church friends stopping by for coffee, Yvette visiting once a month. Terrence has written me letters from prison. Long letters full of apologies and regrets and promises to be better. I write him back. Short letters, honest letters, telling him I love him, but that love isn't the same as trust, and trust has to be earned. Chantal got a job as a teacher's aide. She's working hard, taking care of the kids, trying to rebuild their life. We're not close, but we're civil. She brings the children by every Sunday after church. Little Amara still comes to sit with me sometimes. "Mama Wanda," she said last week, "was I wrong to tell you what Daddy was doing? He's in prison now because of me." "No, baby," I told her firmly. "Your daddy is in prison because of what your daddy chose to do. You saved me. You were brave and honest when the adults around you were being cowards and liars. Don't you ever feel guilty about doing the right thing." I'm 73 years old now. I've lived through a lot, raised 2 children, buried a husband, survived surgery and betrayal. This house on Maple Street has seen joy and sorrow, births and deaths, celebrations and heartbreak. And it's still mine, still standing, still full of memories and possibilities. Some people might think I was too harsh on Terrence, that I should have just let it go, kept the peace, protected my son from the consequences of his actions. But here's what I learned. Real love sometimes means holding people accountable. Real love means teaching hard lessons. Real love means saying, "I forgive you, but I won't enable you." I didn't destroy my family by calling the police that day. Terrence destroyed his own family by choosing greed over love, by choosing crime over integrity. I just refused to be a victim. My hip is healed, my house is secure, my grandchildren are loved and cared for. And me? I'm stronger than I ever knew I could be. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But this old dog learned that she's still got plenty of fight left in her, that she deserves respect and dignity, that being a mother doesn't mean being a doormat. Earl would be proud, I think. He always said I was tougher than I looked. He was right. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.